two sets of wax wings away from freedom. It's setting the scene. Episode 4. Today we're coming in with a little bigger view outside the little city we're developing, talking about some things going on down the river. Today, getting right into it, we got some media recs for everyone. I guess I'm gonna start this time because I'm really excited to talk about this. Finished the Light Fantastic, second book after, and the Pratchett novels after the Color of Magic. Honestly, not like I say much better than the first book, but it definitely feels a lot stronger than the first book. Same kind of lessons I learned from last time of just no hard and fast rules when it comes to world building. This book has no chapters at all. I'm not sure if y'all. This isn't super common in all the Pratchett novels, but something I did find out is somewhat common in the novels.
Yeah.
And one thing that it kind of threw me off, like going through the book and just reading like these kind of vignettes at a time over and over again, and made me think about like leveling in TTRPGs. The whole like milestone system and having these really hard lines of okay, you do this from level 1 to 3 and da 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 da. Versus this book where it just kind of said, "You're just reading. We're just going through. That's just how it is." Definitely an interesting experience going through and just having kind of just going, oh, okay, I can just put the book down here. Not really feeling any strong parts of where to start and stop. So I could apply that to my adventures, But yeah, what do you want to share?
It's kind of the opposite of what he does later on in like the Moist von Lipwig books, where he has I think it's like a Victorian style chapter breaks, where it's like it tells you what's going to happen in the chapter and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sort of the inverse of that. But yeah, I remember that like his earlier ones, he's like, nah, you don't need chapters. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, you can feel him like I'm not. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with his stuff pre Discworld. Because I know he did some writing beforehand, from my understanding. But like, even just going from the Color of Magic to the Light Fantastic, I feel like you can really tell he's getting into his style with this very satirical way he writes. And in the second book, it definitely felt a lot smoother. Like the in the first book, a lot of the breakups where he'd like make a comment about something felt well not as smooth. And this one, it just felt much more just flowed right through. It felt really good. Good book. Yeah. Definitely recommend. Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh dang! I tried.
For me, we're gonna be just talking about Terry Pratchett again. I'm like 10 minutes away from finishing The Truth by Terry Pratchett. Really loved the book. It's actually opening up my mind about because it's set in a city, Ankh-Morpork, and there's certain things that I come from a background of journalism from high school, and I never thought about like town criers or how information actually gets out and about in a fantasy world. So thinking about like the newspaper is like just a novel idea that I'm gonna steal in my next campaign because the amount of information that's not been given to like people, they just live their lives like separate from the like key decision makers really. And we'll get into it, but that's what my homework's kind of about as well. But also I've been watching Game of Thrones, a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and it's very good. It got a 10 out of 10 rating, and then Breaking Bad fans plummeted and review bombed it, so they would have the only number 10. At least that's what all the memes are saying.
Wow.
Yeah,
and so people retaliated and brought down the only 10 perfect out of 10 episode for Breaking Bad. They brought it down to a 9.9.
Wow.
No one's allowed just to enjoy something. You just gotta
put
someone else down at the same time.
I've been seeing a bunch of edits of the new Game of Thrones show, and it's just peak. I love it. So
there's two going on right now. There's the night one, and then there's another one, right?
Yeah, there's the House of Dragons.
I heard they're both pretty good.
House of Dragons is it kind of veers off from what was intended originally, because I think the showrunner is in disagreement with George R. R. Martin. But the Night of the Seven Kingdoms is very light compared to the other ones. It's I think more up my alley because it's not. I don't know how to say without spoiling. It's just like there's more comedic tone to it, and I really like that.
Nice.
Cool. So the only stuff I've really gotten into lately was I watched Predator Badlands, which I am a child of the 80s, and so movies like Terminator and Alien and Predator are all deep in my wheelhouse. So I watched that one. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a very different tone than the other films in that franchise, but I think in a good way. It's a lot of fun. It does not take itself seriously, and it has a very like classic plot structure, which I thought was pretty cool. It also kind of, at least temporarily, fixes a problem that was becoming apparent with those films, which is like if you ever watch the Predator movies, there's a whole thing of like they're the deadliest hunters in the galaxy. But yet every movie they have, because they're going against people who are the main characters, they lose. And after about 4 or 5 of those films, you start to think, gee, are the deadliest hunters in the galaxy kind of crap? Do they suck actually?
Yeah, they're washed.
Yeah, and the Predator Badlands sort of solves that, because it's like, actually, we're just going to make the Predator the main character so he can win, and it's okay, and nobody will mind. And they do that pretty well, and you wouldn't think so, but they managed to pull that off pretty well. I liked it. There's a lot of fun, like, monster design and, like, world design in it, so, like, if you want to steal stuff from it for setting, it would be really cool, because the planet he's on is... the whole planet is basically awful. There's like there's like grass that's made of glass shards and stuff, and giant predators and vines that like try to eat you, and all this other terrible stuff, which is super good fodder for D&D stuff. Like, rip all of that off and put it into a haunted forest, and it'll all work. Yeah, it's good stuff. I had fun.
Nice. I'll say watch one more book rec I kind of have. That's like, I wouldn't say it's applicable in the same sense of like the fantasy books, but a very good book I read recently is called One Day Everyone Will Be Against This. It's post with just everything going on in the world right now. Highly recommend reading the book. I'll say one interesting perspective I got from that book was just the more perspective of someone who, like, an immigrant's perspective. I'm first gen. My mom immigrated. And getting the immigration, the idea of like how it feels to be that person, among other things. It was a very interesting read and definitely changed my worldview a bit. I definitely highly recommend the book. I'd be very warning though, it's a nonfiction, not a fantasy book, but it covers some deep topics, but highly recommend it. But nice. Yeah, getting into homework. We all had some stuff last time talking about what's outside the city. Last time, for those remember, we had the Nautiloid ship in the air. We talked about that. We did the Black Tar Kobolds underground, and then Jordan, what was yours?
Cougars.
The cougars, yeah,
and not the old ladies.
Yeah, not the old ladies. The just the animals in the area. And we talked a little bit about like effects from outside the city. We talked about that way back in the second episode with the NPCs. And now we're kind of fleshing that out and seeing how that kind of affects how that kind of I guess flows not downstream, it'd be upstream to the other city. Who wants to start? I believe Jake. You have not started with the homework yet, so let's see. Present to the class.
Yeah. So mine. I'd call the theater for the city down the way, the port city. And so I have a very brief history for the theater itself, because this is we're thinking old school kind of a theater in the round, right? And so I'm thinking it's the Red Theater, but that's READ, Red Theater, because initially the plot that the theater was built on was initially known as the Poets Plaza. It was someplace where orators would go and extemporaneously read their texts or whatever, and so when they built the theater there, they kind of kept that as part of its lineage. But also it's kind of just a fun, like, homophones are funny. Why not? But for this particular theater, the current show that's running is a tragedy of star-crossed lovers. I'm sure there's nothing there that I'm pulling from. The playwright in charge of that is Rattlepike. Again, I'm sure I just pulled that name out of the air. But because I'm thinking of this place as like a theater is a cool location, but I don't know that I'd want to build like a long plot line around it. So I'm thinking of this as kind of like a a short stop, a side quest, something you could maybe finish in a session and it'd be fun and just kind of an interlude, right? And
An
so
interlude.
my thought for this, yeah, and so my thought for this is like, because I'm making all these goofy and very sideways Shakespeare references. What we'll do is we will do a classic, somewhat Shakespearean style drama here. And so the drama is that at some point, several months ago, um, two nobles from different houses met during a uh, like a diplomatic um, meeting. Like basically like their houses came together to like settle some disputes, and they brought their kids, and their kids are like, they're of age, they're maybe in their late teens or early 20s, but they're still very young. And as part of the settling of disputes, there was a big party, and they had some players there, and they did a show. And these two kids from these two houses saw the players and were like, "Oh man, the life of a noble is sort of stilted and boring. There's all this like social stuff that we have to deal with, and we're expected to do. Wouldn't it be great if we just ran away to the theater?" And so independently, the a kid from each house ran away to go join the theater right after this ambassadorial thing happened, and they ended up at the same theater in disguise, and they don't know that the other one is there, but they have both ended up in the same theater as part of this play. Well, in the background of that, they've been here for a couple of months, and they're running lines and doing things like that. In the background of that, the two noble houses that they are part of, who did this settling of disputes thing, each think that their kid has run off with the other house's kid as like a star-crossed lovers thing. And each house, in classic Shakespearean fashion, is like, that their kid stole our kid. They wooed them away from us. How dare they? This was all a plot, right?
Mhm.
And in retaliation for that, both of these houses have sent assassins to go and murder the young noble of the offending house. And each respective assassin has tracked them to this theater. And of course, when the assassins get there, they have to put on a cover. And so this is how we get this set up. This is a long way to get there. So the setup is the play. The play has a leading man and a leading lady, and the leading man and the leading lady are the assassins undercover. And the best friends of the leading man and the leading lady are the children of the opposing noble houses, who are cross-dressing, so that they are not presenting as the gender that they would normally be. And the idea is that the leading man and the leading lady, who are both assassins, believe, because they're just hired guns. They've never actually seen the nobles that they are supposed to be assassinating. So they each believe that the other one is the noble they are supposed to assassinate, right? But it's complicated because they are both the stars of this play, so they can't necessarily just gank each other right away. So they keep looking for ways to kill the other one, but since they are both assassins, they are both very good at avoiding each other, right?
That's pretty good. That's really good.
And the characters who are playing their best friends in the play are the nobles that they are respectively supposed to kill, right? So like the leading man, his best friend in the play is the noble he's actually supposed to be killing in drag, and the same on the other side. And I have this other layer, which is that the best friends have fallen in love with the leads that they are supposed to be best friends with, right? So we have like it's yeah. I was like, how much can I layer here to make this as much a comedy of errors as possible? And I don't really have a prescription for like how this plot would go. I think it would be just really funny for like players to stumble into this and be like, why is everybody in this building acting so fucking weird, right? And just have it sort of play out and them figure it out as it goes. But I think it'd be excellent to have like a finale to this being like, at some point the two assassins figure out that they are both assassins trying to kill these other people, and they too then fall in love because, hey, we're both assassins, why not? Right? So yeah, it's more of like a broad setup for comedy but I think it'd be hilarious to just throw players in there and have to deal with it.
That
So, yeah.
last part.
I have names for all of them. So like the leading man is Arden. The leading man's best friend is Hathaway. This would be a I envision it as the younger woman noble, and she is in drag as a man, Hathaway. Then the leading lady is Judith, also an assassin, and then her best friend is Ro, who is the younger male noble, also in drag. So that we have all kinds of fun stuff there. So that's mine.
Love it.
I was gonna say the last part you mentioned with the assassins falling in love is like the classic thing of just like they
Yeah.
both realize that everyone's an assassin, so they flash back through all the moments they almost got each other, and like they're just so impressed with each other's skill. Was like immediately what came to mind. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
so good.
Yep.
All the layers are there fun. I was just thinking about like different ways of like, you know, one of the assassins trying to kill the other one, and then like when the stage, maybe when the best friend sees it, and like this whole, there's so many layers, so much fun. Very much feels like a good one just to drop in and just kind of go, you gotta figure this one out.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's like this is like a one shot. Like we finished one section of the campaign. We're about to start the next one, but like maybe a player is sitting this session out or whatever. Somebody's out sick, and it's like, I got something for you here. Like, just throw it at them.
I feel like it's even nice too because it kind of feels like a good backstory. Like again, for like knowing the nobles for like a later part of the story. Like, oh, these nobles, you know, you recover the kids, and now they just have this kooky story of how they met. You know, right? And like how you know them. It's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. I feel sick. Jordan?
Yeah. So I was gonna do this amazing monologue, but then decided not to. So I'll just read what I have. Okay. We follow Ashlyn walking down the street, saying hi to street vendors. Okay, that's the end of the monologue. Here's my homework. So Darren Chaplin is a human and a young noble that is part of the Branch family of his house. With nothing going on and not wanting to go into like monastery, like being religious or anything like that, just loving the act of learning, he decides to open up a new guild called the Learning Guild, a guild that teaches people of the middle class grammar, logic, rhetoric, geometry, astronomy, and music. And basically, it's just so he can teach people how to be nobles themselves and raise people up. Because originally in medieval times, it's just the monasteries that teach those things, or teach clergy people, and like the noble houses teach their own kids and whatnot. And it's not very accessible. Darren is trying to make it accessible to the middle class. Not to all, because he still has to provide and get all the materials and stuff like that. Kind of like the struggles of a teacher in public school. And the nobles and religions don't like the idea of people gaining the means to be literate and read the laws that they are not enacting. So there's also the noble house of Chaplin that cuts off Darren for this purpose, to like be aligned with the other nobles, so that they know that this is not of their own design. So yeah, I mean, the idea of this is just like, for the party, it could be like a stress for Darren to help either fund or guard off the people who are trying to like basically shake them down and like racketeering. So I mean, that's the idea. Would love to think what y'all think about it, because I this could lead down just revolution. That's what I thought.
Yeah, long term, like the noble who, like the Prometheus to fire in this case, to a small degree. I mean, I definitely think it's interesting of just like wanting to give education to the masses and being cut off, because I feel like that probably almost as it radicalizes you. I'd imagine like where he's just he's like, I'm just trying to help people, and they're just like, oh, die, die, perish, stop existing. So I think that'd be pretty interesting there. because also maybe I think it'd be interesting if like he's like a good person in this sense when the players interact with him. Like, he's still an ass, he's still a noble, like a formal. That he still has his own presumptions and stuff and looks down on the players. Like he sees education. Like you guys need to be educated too. Like you guys don't understand. He's like that kind of person
Mhm.
instead of just like some super noble, lawful, good figure who wants to just help everyone out.
Mhm.
I think and also then I think there's
Because
also
it, like
funny.
has this very like paternalistic attitude, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I
It's
think
like
there's
it's
a
like
funny.
they need my learning. They couldn't possibly. Yeah. Hmm.
uh, Jordan, knowing you and how you react to people, like if your players didn't like him, I could totally see you flipping it. Like he's actually like a venture capital guy where he's just trying to get these people educated so he can invest in them early while they're worth
Mhm.
nothing, so he gets a big return
Yeah.
later.
No, deadass. That's I thought about that
Yeah.
as a way to fund the school, because like how is he getting money if he's cut off?
Mm-hmm.
Like after he teaches
Hmm.
people, they get jobs. They send him as part of their paycheck to fund the school and basically like the alma mater alumni packages and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was the 10%
Nice.
tithe, but for
Mhm.
education.
Hmm.
No, this sounds like a fun time. I definitely think the idea of like the other noble families shunning him out too, because I think that it definitely plays a lot into if the players help him, how that affects their relationship with other nobles. Even again, nobles they might be cool with who now are just like, hey, we like you, but we can't really be seen with you because of this, or like you can't be working with them anymore if you want to keep working with us. Maybe they have like a contract, or maybe they're contracted under nobles. Maybe they're knights. Maybe your players are knights of a noble family or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
You could also go like a weird sinister way with it. You could have it be like he's got a benefactor who like starts helping him out, he doesn't necessarily know who it is, and you find out it's someone who is intentionally backing him with the hopes that he will foment revolution by accident. It's like someone
Mhm.
from outside, like like a puppet master kind of character who's like yeah, that's right, educate the people, yeah, that'll bring down this kingdom, and that's what we want.
Mhm.
We want them weakened because they're dealing with internal strife, so that we can come in from the outside.
Mhm.
We love external powers. It's the same thing we
Yeah,
did with with the noble with the guards. Like, oh, maybe there's a noble in this city now. Like, there's another noble in
yeah,
another city.
yeah,
Soon
yeah,
there'll be
yeah.
a different city that's talking to a different city. We're gonna keep scaling up.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, no, awesome. Well, speaking of nobles, I'll get in mine real quick. So I procrastinated. I'll be very upfront. Never done this before in my life, but I procrastinated this time, right? So last time I talked about like was doing noble houses, and so what I decided for this was I was like, okay, I need some way to make a bunch of noble houses fast and figure out rankings and stuff. And I went to a Magic tournament yesterday. I played some Pauper. If anyone shout out in the comments if you play some Pauper. And what I did was I got everyone's deck list, and then I took the final rankings from the tournament, and I turned that into kind of a noble hierarchy. I didn't end up fleshing out the full, it's like 20 something people, but what I did is just took the top. I took the top two people, and then everyone they played against, and that was kind of my base for all of this. So I'll try to be a little quick with it. But basically, what ended up happening is ended up having two houses: House Mahn, Mahn, and then House Nevik. So these are the two big dogs in the city, basically. I imagine. So, I'll start with House Nevik. So, to give extra context, let me actually pull up. So let me pull up my Google Sheets I have. Okay. So to give some extra context, um, there's different deck names, and there's obviously the five colors in Magic, and they each kind of correspond to different things. Wizards of the Coast, owns both D&D and Magic, and there's a lot of overlap in the writing and stuff. Yeah, same. To give the names of the top two decks, I'm going to explain them a little bit, just so I can explain why the houses have what they are. So, House Nevik was by a player named Kevin, and their deck is called Spy Combo. Basically, how this works is you put a bunch of stuff. You basically play minimal lands. You get your basics out the way, and then you put everything in your graveyard. And your goal is to summon a big creature that does a bunch of damage to your opponent. That's the combo. So I figured, why not make them a noble house who's known for recovering ancient artifacts and selling them at a high price, right? High risk, high reward. Because this deck is very much like if you do that, you can just lose. If you get counterspelled, you just lose. So it's very high risk, high reward. But I said, but secretly they're looking for something more. So like I said, with the whole idea of necromancy, how this deck works is you play creatures, and then you sacrifice them to get a spell from your graveyard that lets you reanimate a creature. And that does all the damage. So like that idea of just like that you're sacrificing your board, like there's some dark going on here. It seems all nice and just straightforward, but you have that trade off. So basically, this was the Lord started as work for a previous noble family, and once they began dealing in the recovery and sale of these ancient artifacts, both in magic and non-magic, we talked about this being like a low magic or high magic, low access world. So I figured, hey, a person wheeling and dealing in high magic artifacts, so you get one that might set you up for life already if you get one really high price artifact. And I like this idea of maybe they've discovered something and maybe they know of some secret like necromancy. They want they want the secret to undeath, or secret of immortal life through undeath, and that's what they're looking for. And that's kind of their whole. Like, they've already been living a little longer than most people their age probably would. So people are already kind of going like, oh wow, they look really young. Isn't that weird? But they're still a very new house. Like this, like they're still a first generation. The founder is still alive, kind of house. For their rivals, so they have House Mon, which I said is the other big one. But then they have three rivals. They have House Vane, House Eltiste, and then Lord Jasper. So while I was writing this, the first person who played against both of the players who ended up like being the top two was the same person, which felt great for a story reason because I also didn't get their deck name. So they're just question mark, question mark, question mark. So emergent storytelling of just the first two people this person got beat so bad that they're just gone. Like their house is just gone. No one knows what they did before. Everyone just knows them as Lord Jasper, but seemingly their butt was beat so bad that this family doesn't exist anymore. Kind of like that idea. So then on top of that, I had a House Vane, which was that person played a fairies deck. So I said, oh, their house is blessed. Their wizards blessed by fairies. They're by fae, so they're half elves. So long ago, it's like the classic. I didn't know how much we wanted like elves and all the magic races like here. We know we have dwarves and stuff, but for elves, I was like, maybe the elves aren't really going to see that much. Maybe it's mostly humans. I said they're half elf nobles who were blessed with fae ancestry. Maybe a member of their family at some point made a deal with fae to intermingle the bloodline, increase their lifespans, so on and so forth. And they're very stuck up. They're very stuck up about magic. And to everyone else here, they consider themselves as above. Yeah, exactly. Magic. They're very stuck up about Magic the Gathering, just like me. They consider themselves above humans, but like if they go to the where other elves live, the elves are just like, oh, you're half human, like whatever, that kind of deal. Like they see themselves as so pompous and above, but they're like kind of low tier in terms of fae. And then House Eltiste, which is just a family of knights. And at some point, House Nevik pissed all these people off. Simple as that. Like, you got to make enemies on the way to the top. Then you have House Mon, which is just another. This one's a much older house who's just like a classic. Like, hey, we're a bunch of knights. Our family got knighthood a long time ago, and we've just risen through the ranks since. They're very much. I'm not sure if we wanted to have a king or like just the nobles rule this place, or city council, whatever we want to do. But the guards, like these people are high up in the guards. They've even led. I've said like they've even led the city at points. Maybe like in times of emergency or something like that. So their enemies are House Nevik, House Hathan, which is or they're magic item creators. So that this person's deck was all about casting spells and making familiar, like making tokens based off every time you cast a spell. So I figured that's alchemists, magic item creators, again these high level people who are. You maybe have 2 or 3 people who are experts in this in the family, and that's their whole family thing is, oh, we have 3 experts in this thing, and they make so much money and they have so much influence. You have House Olak, which are just sketchy. The deck that this one played was a version of the deck I played, and so their thing is called Demir. So it's very sketchy stuff, very like sneaky. Again, like your assassins, like low-key, probably like secretive assassins and stuff like that in this family. And then Lord Jasper again. This person's family got their butt whooped. My idea basically with this person was that you have this lord who's kind of conspiring against the whole system. Like they were pushed out, they were beaten up by the 2 top dogs, and they're just like, you know what, this system isn't working for anyone. Maybe honestly, even this is the benefactor that you're talking about. Now that I'm thinking about it, that this actually would be the perfect one because he of course the top 2 people are the ones who put him down, so he wants this whole thing burned down. So honestly, that kind of works out amazing right there. But yeah, those are just kind of the 8. The houses, I like overdid it, but not really. Like I said, I just feel like a sentence each. I feel that gives you kind of enough room to have a lot of intrigue because you have like again, all these houses have enemies. Like the 2 main houses, you have 3 enemies each. So anything you have to do with one house, if you need to go against one house, you know who to go talk to. And I think there's like a whole level here. For those familiar with Matt Covell, he has a really good video covering the Legend of the 5 Rings, which is like a card game that basically took tournament results and built it into the story. And I saw this as kind of a fun way to kind of do that at a smaller level of just, okay, I need to build this noble hierarchy. Cool, just use this. I have like outlines of what they kind of do based on the decks, and I have this 8 house that has connections and has enough detail that if I need to spring someone up, okay, I know, oh, I need this kind of person. Well, I can go get it from this house. And there's enough variety between some of the other options too that really let you, branch out. Like, for example, there's a lot of artifact stuff, so you can have like more artificers and stuff like that. Or there's landfall, so you can have like battle warriors instead of like knights, different things like that. And there's also literally a deck called Elves, so I mean, there you go. But yeah, those are my little houses. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's cool. You could also one of the assassins from my section could come from the sketchy house, the look or whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something that we should probably do together, because I don't think any of the nobles' houses really covered textiles or any like exports of the city and stuff like that. So maybe that is like part of the middle class or a higher middle class merchants.
Yeah.
In all honesty, like the Truth has some people who are of influence to the town folk, based on like the businesses that they created and the trust that they created. So
one of the ways I like how I tiered them was based off their wins. So we had 4 rounds of the game, so you can either win 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0. And one thing what I did was I also was considering was doing it. That's how you kind of rank their influence was. People got 4, that's the top 2. But then the people who got 3, like, they have some a decent regional influence over a couple smaller families. Maybe they have a branch family or 2. But then, like, you have the 2s and 1s, which are just like, this is the family only version of it in this city. Because you need those people kind of low to the ground who are like, who are the nobles that you're actually interacting with every day, right? Like, who are the families that you actually do know, because they're the ones who are coming to you and collecting your taxes or so on and so forth. So I think that definitely is important to cover. Which, hey, good that you were focused on, you started on that already. Middle class. But yeah. One thing we talked about, so now that we talked kind of nobles, we talked about our homework and stuff. One thing we talked about last time was how this city is going to influence the one back home, and I wanted to try and bring that back up and start with talking about the noble you brought up, Jake. And more specifically, the noble and then the silver mine, because we talked about those 2 things as things that can be connected to the city. So what do y'all think about that? Now that we have kind of some pieces here and there, how do we kind of expand on those things? How do we link them together? Because I think, for example, the mercenary company, I already talked about the shady people. Maybe they're linked up. You talked about like Jordan in episode 2. We talked about like maybe there's a link between the people who are protecting the mine and because the guards aren't going to be doing that. Maybe they're connected to the shady people, either it could be the one with the question mark too, or it could just be the shady ones, right? And what are y'all thinking about, Jake? Now that you've heard some of the noble stuff, is there anything you're thinking about for the other guy, for the noble coming in? You like a different family you think maybe? Where's he kind of placed in all this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, that's fine. That's a good answer. That's a fine
answer. Sunday brain. Yeah.
Hey, I get it this morning. I feel like I'm rambling, and then when I stop talking, I feel like I'm hearing like the silence on the tape.
Yeah.
Recording. Yeah. I think.
I mean,
go ahead.
I was thinking that the noble could just be, in all honesty, a lower hanging fruit or lower noble, the one that Jake brought up, just because like people who have stuff but don't have all of it are always looking for more of it. So like he heard of this opportunity to try to steal from like the merchants of like the silver and like gain influence in that one city and like make a name and like build up his name for his house to go back to this city that we're talking about in this episode, mainly to just take over. Like in order to take over a house, you have to have like influence around things. Like if you have influence on the silver mines, that I think you go up a few places, especially in the house, and then even in just the hierarchy of the houses, ones that have the most amount of money or the most amount of honor or credibility are usually the ones at the top, because
Mhm.
like there's a bunch you can do with honor, just understanding like how people work and like the trust factor. There's a lot of stuff you can do with credibility of like, hey, we built for centuries this city. There's like, you know, that in of itself, and then there's obviously the money part, which is like the easiest to like influence people by just giving them money. If you have abundance of it, you're probably going to be higher than others. So like
Mhm.
this noble can be like one of the lower ones, um, and just be on the lookout for ways to kind of like a get rich scheme, so that they can improve their standing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of what you talked
I
about
like
that.
that.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
I like the. Yeah, I like the notion of like having like light ties from one place to another, but that so that you can kind of refer back, but you don't necessarily have to like um, be locked into as much.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can have separations. Like once you get to the big city, it feels functionally different because the major cast of players is different, but like there's still little ties back to the other stuff, so it feels contiguous as a world. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Mhm.
Because I mean, we talked about it in I think either episode 2 or episode 3 that like the initial city. Do we even have a name for it? But
Riverway.
Riverway. So Riverway is kind of like a low level adventure, correct?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
just being like 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think this port city would be like 4, 5, 6, or do you think they like people would just go somewhere else?
I
In
mean,
all
that's,
honesty.
I think that's really up to them. I mean, that I think that kind of gets outside of the scope of the setting. I feel like that kind of digs us
Mhm.
more into like we're writing an adventure now. But I think in terms of
Mhm.
scale, though, I think saying like the people that you're the heavy hitters here. If you're a level 4, 5, 6 here, you're a big dog. You're starting to get big dog
Mhm.
status. I think is a better way to
Mhm.
put it. So we can use that in terms of like when we do our world building. Okay, well, how's the strength? How much strength do you have to start throwing around here versus being a small fish?
Mhm.
You know, like what's it called? Like
Yeah.
that actually kind of goes into what you're talking about earlier about the guy just being some low level noble. He's a small fish. He's a level 1 to 3, so he's going to his
Mhm.
smaller pond where that actually throws some weight around. Where just having levels,
Mhm.
makes you a bigger player. Um, so that kind of works out perfectly with that. So yeah, I think 4, 5, 6 though as like in terms of big fish, I think it's a good scale to go with for the city. Because yeah, 4 fifth level
Yeah.
players, kind of four people who can potentially cast fireball, very dangerous in a city.
Yeah.
Mhm. Unless it's built out of stone.
Yeah.
Fireball can still kill a lot of people. People are not everyone's made out of stone.
There's an abundance of people. There's a finite amount of wood.
But
um,
keep saying Guess for Jordan when he edits later.
I'm keeping this in. I do not care.
That's so funny. Yeah, me going in. I'm gonna go in like the YouTube clip now. Anyways, I digress. Okay. So we talked about the noble from last time. Do we want any other connections from the city? I was thinking maybe one of these nobles, like maybe none of these nobles are doing business with the Silvermine guys. Maybe that they're actually shunning him because he's not a noble. He seems to be he's kind of making it. He's a half orc more correctly, so he's not a noble.
He's a half orc. Definitely, probably just a middle class, higher up middle class. I got lucky. Like I picture them still being like business savvy, but not like dealing with the nobles because there's only so much you can get out of them
Mm-hmm.
because they have so much power over things that they're kind of playing dirty and they're not playing fair. Like haggling to them is beneath them because they're nobles. Like you just give me the price that I set.
Mm-hmm.
When in actuality, like haggling is just a fun thing to do between merchants. Like it's a sign of respect. Is how I see it.
What do y'all think about what do y'all think about the area being mostly human? I feel like we haven't really we've been sprinkling other races here and there, but I was like when I was writing these nobles, I was thinking, oh, these guys are mostly humans, but they're like very haughty about it. Like they're very, oh, we're the pinnacle magic and stuff, da, 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 even though like all the other elves are the same way. And then dwarves, I felt like are kind of just like we're dwarves, we're not elves. Like I feel like very classic fantasy trope, but I thought maybe a
Mhm.
focus on doing it as humans would kind of give us an idea to make the other races more exotic in terms of like when they're here, it matters more. They're impacting like the half elf noble family. Like I expect there to be a decent amount of them, but relative to the
Mhm.
city, they're like very small group. But then when you see them around, they're very they're pointed ears. They're very taughty about it. That kind of setting. In term,
Mhm.
I think it's something that would be good to talk about. Would just be like what we're looking for. We wanted to go. I know we scoped it to the small cities. So we're obviously going to go back to that and flesh that out some more. But in terms of as we build more into this world, right? You know what we're looking for from that. I guess because I guess a side question would be maybe for homework next week. I was thinking we could maybe do gods. You know, start doing some deities, minor deities, and stuff like that for the area. Yeah, yeah. You gotta eat your vegetables. You gotta do your saints. But what do y'all think about the humans? I think it might be fun to start with that as just like a, hey, they're the default here, but then them that'd be a good branch exercise for us later. Where it's like, hey, what if we go to the Fey realm and we're doing elves only, or orcs? Love a good orc kingdom.
Yeah, I do like the notion of like you start a game in a more mundane way, and then you part of the texture you add to the places where the characters go as they expand is like, well, they get more cosmopolitan. You get more of those like weird foreign quote unquote exotic cultures that you can kind of put in there with different species and stuff. So I think that's cool.
Mhm.
I thought of most of my all the characters I thought of for the theater are all human. So
Yeah, I know it's very similar to your style. You play a lot of human, a lot of grounded fantasy.
yeah.
Thoughts, Jordan?
True.
I know you
I mean, I
love
think
world
that's
building
fine.
gods.
Yeah, no, I do. I do. And it's not at all like me taking stuff from books that I've read either. It's not about my fanfics of the books that I want to see into my D&D world. It's not that at all. Not at all. I mean, I'm fine with doing gods for the next homework. I think the idea of like the mundane into the exotic as they travel and get higher level is fine. I don't know like then for character limitations, like if this is a setting, like is there limitations for like the races you can pick?
I don't think so because I think it'd just be a situation of like you're like when we present this setting to the people, right? What you write about is saying, hey, demonic person you want to play, just so you're aware, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and like maybe it's just about being upfront and setting expectations because maybe some players would like that challenge of being okay. I'm gonna stick out, and maybe some places that people can look at them. Maybe some places like hey, the priests aren't gonna let you in here, right? Like just being upfront with the expectations of that, right? Same with other races like being a half orc, right? It's just about communication. I think it'd be fine. I think they're still here. It's not like they're like, oh, a human has never seen a like this human in this small village maybe has never seen a tiefling, but like in this city we're in, you've probably seen one, maybe once or twice in your life at least. Even if they're a little exotic, but like, you've seen elves in this city. They do come here. Now again, when they're here, they're haughty, they're taughty, but so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to like the big city like Jake's mentioning, or like for example would be what's the big one for 5e in the Forgotten Realms? Waterdeep. Like that's like your high level like. I'd imagine in this case that scale becomes like this is like end campaign City of Brass like multiplanar versal like this is how populous this city is. And you're seeing all these different races because you're like at a center of the multiverse or whatever right. And then it'd be like the higher echelon of that. But I imagine most people have seen an elf, probably like that traveling through. Like they're elves; they live a long time, right? They're always walking around.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, alien. And then in terms of gods, how do y'all think about? What are we thinking about gods being close, being distant? Like how often are they showing up? I'm leaning more toward like there's the aspect of the gods exist for sure. We know it. We have definite proof. Then you have the other side of we don't know if the gods are real. Like powers just be showing up, things be happening. And we're not really sure. I keep knocking my mic, Jordan. You're gonna love that when you're editing it later. I can see you cringing every time
I'm loving it now, dude.
I
mean, it's gonna stay in. There's nothing I can do. You're talking to me in the middle of it. It's just gonna be like dang, 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 dang.
You're gonna turn it up. Anyways, what do y'all think? How are we feeling about? We want the gods super present. Huh?
I'm gonna deep fry it.
Yeah.
The video as well.
I'm leaning towards. I think I think it'd be fun to try approach. We don't know the gods are. We have proof the gods are real. We don't know if they're listening right now. Like powers are being answered. Clerics can heal, but we don't know
Mhm.
for sure that that's them listening. If you catch my drift.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like we still have like superstition around. Like people still do that kind of thing. Like here's a better way to put it. Maybe recently we had proof the gods were real. In the last couple over time, 100 years or so, something happened that reminded people that hey, it's worth praying to the gods. It's worth doing that little thing before you get on the ship, right? Throwing a coin in the ocean or something like that.
Mhm.
They're still superstitious, but no one's been there hasn't been like a true active god in a while that everyone's heard about. Maybe like some small places like here or there, but like there has been some big world event in a while that's made everyone go, maybe I should pray tonight. Yeah, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that leads to something that I want to probably go over, and that's cults. So I think y'all can do gods and stuff. I'll do cults.
Everything's a cult. Man,
I
if you
know.
write it correctly.
So
Okay, do we want to focus? Okay, so I think we should bring this back into the. So let's turn around and reel it back into the city back where we're at.
okay, then we're not doing cults because
No,
I
actually,
imagine
cults.
the city.
No, I think cults could work still. Let me explain.
Mhm.
I was thinking, well, like part of this could be like a side project would be talking about the past, like what was here before the city, what has led to the city being here, and I think we could each talk about maybe some like groups that have come through, like maybe each of us. We don't set a time limit. Just hey, what's one thing that your god you're writing has touched and left in this place? So if you had a cult. Maybe the cult came through here to point. Maybe they're founders from here. Maybe they were here at one point and they don't know their artifact is in the dragon's hoard, right? Like they don't know these things.
Mhm.
And that could be a good way to kind of like, hey, how do we again bring something into the setting we're building and like touch it, doing the spiderweb thing of like we can feel the effect here, but then the cult somewhere else. You know, maybe you have them in a city nearby. A good one throwback would be Jake. Do you remember the unicorn? Your unicorn one you wrote with don't drink the
Yeah.
water. Sorry, I know you don't know
Yeah.
what I'm referencing, but basically it's a town, and the town. Spoiler alert for the story, but you know the town has a cult going on. What was there? Yeah, the whole unicorn.
The
go ahead. Yeah.
It was one of those interlude things, and it was for a more open worldy game, and it was the town of Sweetmeat, and the idea was that it was a town that was known for their meat exports. And when the players come to the town, there's just a lot of weird stuff there. They notice that there is nobody in the town who is younger than about 18 and nobody older than about 40. And the townsfolk, when they ask about it, the townsfolk are like, oh yeah, the water in this area is a little dicey, you may not want to drink it because it makes everybody here infertile. That's why there's no kids. All the kids we have are there's an orphanage in town, and we get like war orphans, and we take care of them, and we usher them into the town later on, and that's how we repopulate the town. And then there's like the town just behaves really strangely, and eventually what comes out is that the town's meat exports, they do export normal meats, but the way the town actually gets money, real money, is that they export unicorn meat, and unicorn meat in that setting in that game was an age retardant. It would keep you young forever, so long as you kept consuming it. But it did other things to you over time as well that were not super awesome. And the orphanage in town was the bait shop. So the town were unicorn hunters, and the orphanage, they would take orphans out and use the orphans as bait for unicorns because they are small children and they keep them kind of closeted and innocent, and they would run them out in the woods, and then they would like, because this basically the idea was this village was on a unicorn migration path, and so the kids would attract the unicorns and then the town would kill the unicorn. And then after that happened, the kid has been traumatized, and so the kid gets the choice, which is, well, you've been so traumatized you're never going to be able to attract a unicorn again, so you can either join the town and become one of the hunters, or we'll leave you out in the woods. And so it's one of those things. It was a fun little interlude. But they were kind of a weird unicorn hunting cult. It was good times.
So you can do Colton City.
It's true.
And okay, so actually, also another thing we can talk about. I sent in a picture. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to be on screen because I don't know if Jordan's want to do that because he hates me and doesn't ever want to do anything. This guy. I sent a picture of a kind of rough map. I was thinking population-wise, what are we thinking? I was thinking maybe we have a city guard, so it's decent size. Thinking 300-ish people. So a decent sized city. You know, you have plenty of people to farm. You have probably most amenities here. You know, smithing. You know, basic doctor, probably. So on and so forth. Timber, stuff like that. Imagine it had. I think maybe another episode would be good to also going back into business industry, like talking about maybe logging and stuff like that. Who's building the houses, right? Who's farming, stuff like that would be good. But just to give you kind of an idea that there's a decent population here. So Joy, there is room for a cult. Just saying. But maybe we maybe we write one group that is directly in town, like has a church or is like worshiping directly in town, and then some outside groups maybe that come pass through. I'll personally probably shoot for like 3. Gonna try to give a wide range. Yeah. Okay. Got homework for next time. I mean, do we have more we want to cover this week?
I think we're good.
I don't think so.
Okay. This has been Setting the Scene, episode 4. Until next time.